Okay, to replace the headlamp light bulb, the headlamp assembly has 5 bolts holding it. 1, 2, 3, and the 4th one is directly below this attachment point, right down in there, about a foot down. I'll show you here in a minute. And the 5th bolt is approximately right here. Okay, so to get at that one, we've got to remove the trim here and then peel this out a little bit. And there are 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4 here, and a 5th one right up here that holds this piece from being pulled out. In addition, we've got to remove the radiator cover here, and there are 4 plastic rivets, 1, 2, 3, 4, plus 2 Torx bolts, 1, 2, plus 2 10mm bolts approximately here and here underneath this cover that hold the front air dam in place. So we have to remove that in order to kind of pull this out, give us some more space. To open the hood, put your finger right on the middle of the seam, and here pointed down and slightly to the left, maybe about 2 fingers to the left. Go in and down and move to the right, and then you can open the hood. And that's the lever that we just pushed on right there with the finger like that. So you can't see it. If you look in there trying to find it, you won't see it because it's below the surface, and plus it's black, so you just have to know how to do it. Usually I use 2 flat heads, and on one side of the rivet there's a opening to get your flathead under. I usually pry up the rivet like so, and then I usually get under the main portion of the rivet, help it out of its socket. There's a 4th one. Put these down here. The Torx. So we'll get that T15 on this little ratchet here. Okay, it looks like it's going to be a lot of turns, so we'll just go with power screwdriver. All right, let's see. This should just lift up. It's a little stubborn in the middle. Okay, it's a little stubborn right here. And it looks like there's a clip of some sort, plastic clip, so I'll grab my larger screwdriver and see if I can help it out. There it goes, popped it perfectly. All right, I'll just put that right there. Okay, next, these 2 bolts. What size that is? Let's try 10mm, our most used size in the world. Okay, the next step is going to be to remove the screws for the fender liner, and there's 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th one is hiding underneath the liner, like right about here. So wherever the seam is, that's about where the bolt is. So you'll have to kind of peel back the fender liner to get access to get your driver up there and remove that bolt. Okay, next we're going to reach in there with our fingers and kind of pull out the fender well. Yep, lots of dirt. Now I can get access to this trim. I'm going to pull it out right here first, work my way down, just pop it. And there it is. And then this is popping out. Okay, so I got... Okay, now before I can pull this trim out, there's one torque screw holding that in right here. Okay, so my camera shut off because it overheated, and so okay, I got my helper here. I gotta make sure these bolts don't disappear. Okay, and what I had to do is get the drill at about this angle to get that last bolt out of there to release the front bumper, and it's see. Okay, so that bolt is, pull this trim out a little bit, pull that wheel well out a little bit, and it is right up in there, right where my pinky is pointing. I'm trying to get the light in there. Anyway, that's the spot right there where that final bolt is that I think we'll need for full removal here in a bit. Okay, next let's release these 2 bolts for the headlamp housing itself. The headlamp assembly has 5 bolts holding it. 1, 2, 3. That is the 7mm. That one wasn't even snug. Okay. Same exact length. Okay. And let me go ahead and disconnect it now. This clip right here has to be squeezed at this point. So sliding the screwdriver under the cover is not the correct action. Squeezing here is to lift, because it has to lift off inside the cover. So either a screwdriver pressing here or your fingers. I found it very difficult to get in here with fingers, but once I've released it once, of course now without the dirt on it, it's a little easier. So I pinch here, and the whole connector, as you can see, slides now, and that can come off. No, there. I was tucking the wrong side. Okay, there. It's going to slide right off. Okay, let it drop, no problem. Okay, the next bolt that I couldn't really find, took me a few minutes to find, is, okay, it's right down in here. And it's right there. It's actually right below this. So right down in there, let me get the camera off my head, and it is like right there. You can see it. So it's kind of like, yeah, right off the point of this trim front there, just down there. And of course, have to do some wrist wrestling to get the tool down in there to get it loose. Again, I'm going to use this micro ratchet here, get that loose, and let's see how easy that is. Okay, not too bad, and it's not tight. It wasn't tight at all, so my ratchet barely being used. I'm going to bring the ratchet up and just use the socket extension. I think I can, and my fingers are able to twist it. Unfortunately, it's a really long screw, so my fingers are already super tired. Okay, so now I'm just using my bare fingers, and they're cramping up because of the weird angle. Okay, got it. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there's a fifth one somewhere, and that I think is below the trim. Even though I'd removed this bolt, I was very timid about pulling on this with excessive force, but you just have to kind of pull this trim down, get your fingers under here, and just kind of start tugging on this, and it'll release. These clips are designed to release when you give it enough force, so it'll pop, 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 and then this whole assembly comes out. So now I can get access. And this is a total pain in the ass to get in here. I'm using this little short tool. Hold this out and get in there with my little hand ratchet there. Okay, now I can just do this by hand. There's that bolt, which is why we needed the trim off of here. So inside that little piece right there is that, there it is, there's that bolt. Can't bend that trim too much. Okay, enough with the ratchet. I'm now just going to use my fingers. Actually, it's already out. Just got to get it, keep it from falling down. All right, number 5. Okay, so it'll still kind of feel solid, and the trick, I've done it several times. This mounting point has a little like keeper underneath it, like a little alignment dot of plastic, and you just kind of right here, there's like a little dot or something to help out with that hole in the plate there. Let's see if I can get this. Trying to make sure I get it on camera. Where is it? Get my finger in here. Okay, it's right below this. So there is that little hole that has a plastic bumper on the underside of the headlamp housing that kind of aligns it, and so it feels like there's still one more bolt holding on there, and you just kind of got to realize to pry that above it. And the tendency is it'll keep wanting to reset back in there as you're trying to wiggle it out. So that's one of the things I noticed. So now notice how it's all kind of loosey-goosey now. It's all kind of loose down here. It feels like you have more control of it to now be able to pull it out. Everything's kind of loose, and you can kind of manipulate it out of here. Let me put this on my head and see if we can record it all happening. And okay, this little plastic trim piece here feels like it's always getting in the way. Let's get around that first with a little force. Pull on the bumper to help it get around that. And now I'm trying to get it underneath, around this brace. And feels like there's one piece that the bumper still has a hold of around here. And there, it just released it. Okay, but now this got under here again. So I gotta get it above that, and here it comes. It's gonna come out. Oh my gosh, it's out. Can't believe it. Alright, next step is to get the bulb replaced. I'm gonna get some nice cloth to rest this down on so I won't scratch it. Extract the unit, and again, lift that little piece of, that little plastic peg out of that hole. And this trim piece has to be bent. And that's up out of that nice bolt trim piece there. And let's see what kind of motion we can do to get this out of here. Okay, I'm going to pull the bumper out a little bit. Grab it with my right hand. Like a big fish. All right, here we go. Down onto the cloths, and we already got dirt on the cloths. All right. Okay. All right. Okay, a little rubber seal there. And I'm going to pull my gloves off because I don't want to get dirt on that seal. Put that rubber piece back in place. Okay. Okay, 2 more Phillips screws in there. Okay, there's going to be those 2 there. According to another video, I have to remove this cable from the other side first in order to successfully remove this, and I don't know why that was. I don't know if you can't remove this cable. It looks good. And I will remove the plug now first with a little help from the screwdriver. Boom, it's off. Here's the cover. Now for the new bulb. Not going to make sure not to touch the glass. I'm going to go in, grab that plug, don't touch the bulb. Oil on your fingers will ruin that bulb. Okay, let's see if we can make this plug happen. Okay. Perfect. Seating feels good. And the cover right on there. I believe there's a motor that pushes the bulb fore and aft or something to get high beams. Okay, let's go back in with these bolts here. Okay, next one. And I'm just gonna, I want to do these hand tight, not with the drill driver. Just snugging them up just about the same way they were. All right, it's replaced. Put the rubber seal cover back on here. Okay. Okay, the shield comes off. This time the bulb stuck with the shield. Drop those screws down there. Okay. That guy comes out. Brand new one. New one going in. Actually, I'm gonna
install it without the shield. Now get these screws back in. Okay. Okay, connector back on. Okay, now I just sat the housing, the headlamp on top of the bumper kind of here precariously, just enough so I could reach the cable and plug it in. I thought let's just test it and turn it on, because man, it'd be crazy if the new bulb didn't work. Okay, just sat in the car, and of course when you open the door I think it just automatically turns the lights on, so looks like that one's a little bit duller, so it'll be good to get it refreshed new, and I'll double check the high beams. Okay, let's put this back now. I'm gonna it passed the test. Okay. So I gotta finagle this back in here. Let's do this way first. Okay, this piece needs to be on the inside of the upper trim. There it all goes, and it's kind of in place. That rear bracket. Okay, it's all back. Reinstall. Grab it like a fish. Okay, so I got it finagled back in position, and kind of your goal, you know, get this, aim this hole here to line up, but really you're trying to get this piece lined, because there's a hole, there's a protrusion in the plastic that'll alignment piece that'll fit in the hole in here before any bolts are put in. And I discovered on the lower bolt that goes in the lower part of the housing, where you got to really crunch your fingers there to get it out or in, there is also a nice I want to say almost maybe a third of an inch long plastic peg that will automatically align on that little bracket. So it will align it so that when you're having to put this bolt back in, you don't have to worry about alignment issues. It's aligned correctly, and you just got to get the bolt snugged down. Okay, so everything looks good. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. And I think before I snug things down, I'll just make sure the plastics are all gonna line up. I'll just get things get the bolts positioned here, but I'm not gonna get after it yet. Okay, let me get the lower. So before you get this back in position or any of this trim, go ahead and get that lower bolt snugged up there, because once you do that, you lose a lot of space for your fingers to work in. And the way I've had to do it is I can't really see where my fingers or the bolts going. I have to kind of look at the backside bolt holding bracket that the bolt penetrates, and kind of look at that while I try to get my fingers down there and align it up. Okay, now I'm going to use the socket tool. That seems to be going well. I don't think this is recording anything good. Now I've got to get my gloves off. It's too slippery down there. Okay, with my bare fingers I'm able to get it almost all the way, and I just need to get the ratchet to snug it up. Okay, just barely hand tight. Barely hand tight is good for me. And get the camera off my head here, and just so you know, what I've been doing is getting my hand behind this piece here underneath it, and then I can pretty much easily reach it either with the ratchet or originally to position it in the hole and then to tighten it up with just the socket. So it's actually pretty easy. Just got to be a little patient. But I want to say the same effort to take it out is about the same effort to put it in. Okay, now the trim pieces, before I snug the top I got to get this bolt. I got to get this bolt snugged in there, installed in there. Okay, let's get this one going. Okay, I'm going to position it. Let's see if the socket helps me at all or not. I think it's going to get my way. Okay, no gloves, so I can feel what I'm doing. Okay, I started it with my fingers. I'm just going to get the socket on there. It's very easy to turn it. Okay, now the ratchet. And I couldn't get it even close to bottoming out with my hands, so it's going to be quite a few turns with the ratchet. Just protect your paint with your fingers while you're doing it. Okay, it's snugging up, and I don't want to crank it tight, too tight. Just want to hand tighten it, kind of. Okay, I'm happy with that. That's all the bolts in place. So I'll snug these up in a minute after I do the trim here, just in case I did something wrong. Snaps in place, and this snaps in place. Then all this trim, hold off on the trim. Okay, so now I've got to zip up the wheel well, and remember it's 4 bolts here. One, 2, 3, 4, plus hiding under this, about this point here where the seam is, underneath here is the 5th one, and you got to do it first. Okay, so that bolt is in. Now I will see if I can get the camera to show this. Okay, so now all those are in. That bottom one felt kind of weird, like a little bit like Jello, but it hooked up with the screw hole and cut snug. So now just now this bottom trim piece, you want to get that little tongue in there and that groove first. Then you can see all your attach points. That's it. A little dusty. Par for the course. Now I can snug up these guys up here. Okay, all snugged. And now let's get the shroud on. Okay. Okay, switch over to the 10mm. Snug. Now the shroud. Rest it here. Oh, let me make sure I connected the electrical socket. Don't forget to do that. I guess you'll know pretty quick if you forgot it. And since I forgot it, I'm just letting you know it's easily done after the reinstall, so that's kind of nice. Okay, so got 2 Torx here. Okay, then buttons, 4 buttons. Got those last 2 buttons in place, and lower the bonnet. Let's go test out the okay, power on the car. I see lights, and both of them are popping to high beam, so looks good.